So much has been happening over the past year. I don't know how much you've been keeping up, man, but I've been in some pretty high profile
back and forth. I think it was Meek and Rick Ross, right?
Yeah, Jim Jones, Meek Mill, Rick Ross. Then Joe Budden chimed in, and it didn't feel fair to me that a brother like Joe Budden, who I never met before,
I heard you call him out on the new record,
the new song. Yeah, because he had 3 full podcast episodes where I'm a topic of discussion of his, you know, and he gets to, in long form content, gets to speak his piece about who he thinks Dee-1 is and how he thinks Dee-1 is just a clout chaser and not legit and da-da-da-da-da, and speaking down on even my faith. You heard me, the fact that I'm Christian and all this type of stuff. And I was like, dang. Based on the way I put content out, all I got is songs and maybe 90-second reels on Instagram. So I love the fact of, and salute to you even for, with podcasting, when you're really a thinker, you heard me? Like, you're really a thinker and a listener. So it allows you to have these longer conversations to where you can understand someone's heart and their thought process behind what they're doing.
Yeah, it's almost like when you watch, like, the news and people, like, form opinions based on, like, 4 people on TV trying to each get in their 45-second point, as opposed to like listening to like a politician or somebody speak on like a long form conversation where you could get like further understanding. It's the same shit. It's like you said, like now you can articulate your points in a greater way if you have your own podcast.
And then Kendrick Lamar just threw me the alley-oop of all alley-oops last week. You heard me?
Nah, the Kendrick shit's crazy. Like, where were you when you heard it?
I was on Instagram Live.
Yeah.
On Instagram Live because my city, New Orleans, was very mad with me. I was like public enemy #1 last week to New Orleans because when the announcement came out that Kendrick was performing at the Super Bowl, so many people in New Orleans were mad, super upset that it wasn't Lil Wayne.
I noticed.
Yeah. And I'm from New Orleans. You know, that's my hometown. Yeah. Man, for me to say like, yo, like, let's keep it a buck. You heard me? Like, where's this sense of entitlement coming from? Like, the artist has to be somebody from New Orleans just because the Super Bowl is here, #1. And #2, I was keeping it 100. I'm a former middle school teacher. I'm a college professor. I'm a dude whose hip-hop music is clearly message-driven. You know what I'm saying? It got message mixed in with dope beats and dope flow and all that. So when we talk about the message, I was like, let's keep it 100 about the message that Wayne has often glorified in his music. You know what I'm saying? Like, is that something that is necessarily conducive to 100 million plus audience who's gonna be watching the Super Bowl halftime? And just me saying that, bro, it's the same stuff I was saying with Rick Ross and you know, back then, almost a year ago. And the city had my back then, but now because it applied to somebody from the city.
I just said, like, obviously Wayne's a legend, but I think like if you're the Super Bowl and you're the NFL, like he just did WrestleMania and forgot a lot of his lyrics, and it was a less than best performance. And like he's just had like interesting on stage situations over the last few years where he's like walked off and like I just don't know if I'm like, yo, like Kendrick also happens to be like like having a crazy year, and he's Kendrick Lamar. Like, what are we talking about? Like, over the last decade, like that's the move.
He's been a glitch in the Matrix in that he clearly has a message in his music that's about pushing things forward in life, right? Progressive, but has become as mainstream as you could get. You know what I'm saying? Like that's rare.
And he's always been that.
That's rare, bro.
He's never not done what he is doing.
So what message do we want to send to the kids at home? Do we want to send a message that like it's possible to stand for something, you know, to have some morals, values, and principles
and make it
right? That's a fire message to send. You heard me? So when I got the announcement that Kendrick shouted me out in his new song, I was on Instagram Live explaining this to a lot of people in my city who were mad at my commentary on the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden the comments got flooded with a wave of new people saying, Kendrick Lamar just shouted you out. Yo, Kendrick just mentioned you. So I didn't know if it was real or not, but I was like, whether or not that's real, they said, he's giving you your flowers. This is amazing. I said, the thing about flowers, y'all, is that flowers eventually die. I said, so if it's true what y'all are saying, salute to Kendrick. I love you, my brother. Thank you. But I want everybody watching this live to know that I do this for the approval of somebody that ain't even here, and that's God. You feel me? Because for me, I've had the approval from the Bootleg Cavs, now the Kendrick Lamars, the fans, but I see how quick them same fans will turn on you.
For sure.
So when they talk about like you getting these flowers and you supposed to be just almost like mama, I made it type of moment, I just know how to not get too high on the highs and not get too low on the lows, you know?
People should do that in life.
In life, bro. Like, so I was like, yo, it's amazing that in the same week, I'm experiencing condemnation from my city, everything from people making death threats to saying you can't come back to the city and you canceled in New Orleans and all this stuff, to elevation and validation from Kendrick saying, I want to be empathetic, a heart like Dee-1. You know what I'm saying?
I want to know what the end of that line was, because he stopped.
What you think it was?
I don't know. But it was,
well, he said, but I will. He said, I want to be empathetic.
But I will.
But I will.
Oh,
exactly. Yeah. So you could imagine what it was.
For sure. No, yeah. I thought that was super dope, though.